Hey guys, I'm sorry that I'm late. I just had to deal with a couple things because today was so busy. But today we're gonna be reading the third chapter of Uprising, and it seems like right now it's kind of like the rising action. It hasn't really got to the big action yet, so we're gonna keep reading this. Okay, when I was 6 years old, I spent an entire afternoon sitting beside Rizard, watching him flattening out balls of clay, then mold them into shapes to create a small house for my dolls. He even made furniture from it, even for 4 rooms. All of it is covered with a red clay roof. For reasons I couldn't explain, even today, as soon as his back was turned, I gathered a fist and punched it straight through the roof, smashing everything into a pile of mixed-up clay. He had been angry, of course, then had immediately forgiven me, which made me feel worse about what I've done. At the time, I hadn't fully understood how much that had devastated him. After all, it was only clay. But I did understand now. As we traveled by wagon through Warsaw, I realized that what was the Nazis had done to our city. Only their punches had come in the form of bombs. We passed so many formerly beautiful buildings, now nothing but piles of concrete, bricks, and dust. I turned to Rizard, wanting to apologize again for what I've done all those years ago. But it seemed like a silly thing in comparison to the destruction around us now. It was bad enough to see piles of concrete buildings had once stood. But far worse was seeing people picking through the bricks and beams in buried shutters, some of them in panic and desperation. Others sat on racks and down trees, alone in the midst of their personal chaos, I meant to say. Their bodies covered in ash and dust, staring at a world they no longer recognized. What if we got a home? And our home is gone? I asked Rizard. He frowned back at me but said nothing, because nothing could be said. We both knew that was possible. We never should have moved to Warsaw, Mama said. There was no good reason for it. She didn't mention my name, but her comments were clearly aimed at me. We had moved to Warsaw last spring so that I could study music at the same university where Chopin studied a century ago. If anything had happened to our home, Mappa would see that the Germans and I shared equal blame. Our possibility, it would be a little more my fault. The roads leading into Warsaw were easily shadowed, but the families trying to get out of the city crowded every street in cars, trucks, or carts. It felt wrong to me, but all of them knew something we did not. Several hours later, when our home came into view, I breathed a high sigh of relief. Everything looked as normal as the day we left to visit grandfather. It looked so normal, in fact, that it was hard to believe that we had just come through whole neighborhoods that were now little more than a rubble. Mama looked relieved as well. We have escaped the world of it then, she said, patting Papa's arm. But he only responded, I want you and Lydia to go straight into the cellar. Rizard can help me unload the wagon, then we'll gather up food and supplies. Do you think the plants will return again tonight? Rizard asked. Papa looked upward, his eyes scanning from horizon to horizon before he answered. Warsaw had not fallen. Yes, they will be back. And so they were, sooner than I expected. The sounds of explosions began while Papa and Rizard were still up in the house. I wanted to huddle against Mama for comfort, but she was pacing back and forth in the cellar, asking no one in particular, where are they? They should have come down by now. Our cellar was accessed outside the house from 2 doors in the ground. We didn't have much down here, only a few old trunks of things Mama no longer wanted, but she had never bothered to give to the poor. With the dirt floor and concrete walls, it was cold, even for this time of year, and it was dark, except for the crease of light that came in from between the doors. I kept a steady eye on the light. It was now my only connection to the outside world. Finally, the door opened. Razak came down the stairs first, and Papa tossed in our mattress. Blankets, change of clothing, and food, then closed the doors behind him as he entered. We have valuables up there as well, Mama said. Thieves will know that we are down here. They will steal our belongings. The thieves are in hiding, just as we are, Papa said. Besides, we have what we need to survive, and that is enough. He looked at me as he spoke, and I understood. He cared nothing for our valuables, nor did I, though the time would come once again I would believe my mother was right. Papa made up beds for us on the dirt floor. The cellar was also where we stored the extra vegetables. Every fall, because it was cool enough to make them last into the winter. But I doubted I'd last so long. I crawled between the blankets, but knew it would be a long night and I'd get little sleepy. How could I, when the darkness was punctuated by the sounds of plane engines and explosions and the smells of burning beauties coming through much closer than I wanted to think about? We didn't leave the cellar once on the second day. In the second night, the bombing continued. Will no one come to Pauline's defense? Mama asked, till her question only hung in the air, unanswered. The following morning, Papa left the cellar early to get more supplies. He left the doors open for us to get fresh air, but added, "Don't come out of the cellar. You're safer here." As soon as he left, Razard and I looked at each other in the sunlight and began laughing. Sometime in the night, plaster dust from the bombing had fallen over us both. Our hair and arms and clothes were covered in so much white powder that we were hardly recognizable. "You look like a snowman made out of dust," I told him. He laughed back. "And you look like as if a big bag of flour exploded all over you." I laughed with him until his words echoed in my mind. Has something exploded? There was only one way that we could be covered in so much powder dust, and that was if someone had come into the cellar through the floorboards of our home above. I stopped laughing and turned to look at Mama, who had climbed to the top steps of the cellar and was staring out from there. I walked up beside her and instinctively took her hand. That was the only thing I could do, since all the words had failed me. She squeezed my hand but remained silent too. I didn't blame her for that. After all, an entire corner of our house was gone. So, we will read chapter 4 tomorrow. And again, I'm sorry for being so late. But so far, it's an interesting book. And I don't know if I already told you, but this is actually a true story, based on a true story. It's actually very cool. And I also want to tell you, at 7:50, I'm going live to show you guys. It's a little surprise. 7:50. And I'll see you there. Bye.